Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Well, this video will be about giving birth to a baby during COVID-19. Rebecca is going to explain to you or tell you all about the process leading up to this labor and delivery of this baby here. Caleb Anthony Garden, a beautiful son, you know. So she will start off by giving you a brief update from Anyway, the story went like this. And Tuesday, May 5th, Rebecca went to see her hobby. You get me? I was home working because during the COVID situation, I have to work from home. So I was sitting on my computer and she went to see her OB. And after she went to see her OB and do her checks and stuff like that, the OB found out that her blood pressure was a bit too high. You get me? So I don't know. Because of that situation now, because of her blood pressure, they will think it is right that she go to the hospital and get this thing checked out. And maybe if she go to the hospital that day, she would have have this baby then, because it would be not bad for the baby, but I think it would be bad for her because with her blood pressure being that high, she can get an heart attack or lead to other problem, you know. So yeah, so she called me freaking out, you know, called me on her way from the OB freaking out. Oh, come on, we got to go to the hospital. You need to pack your bags and all them things. You need to grab all your bags and stuff like that, you know, and freaking out and like crying too.
I'm
like
scared.
Something is wrong. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? I didn't know what to tell my supervisor. I didn't know what to say at the moment. Yeah, but at the moment I had to think about it. I draft up an email and I sent to my supervisor letting them know that I think my fiance we're both having an emergency situation right now. We have to take my fiance to the hospital all together, checked out, and maybe she would be having that baby. Oh my gosh.
It was scary because we just weren't ready mentally, I think.
Exactly. We really
was just
weren't
going
ready.
for a regular checkup like I always do every week.
Yeah.
And then when that blood pressure was spiked, he was like, we need to go check it out. And I was like, okay.
So, oh my God. So, this situation in the hospital is so crazy.
Yeah.
Being that it's COVID-19, the coronavirus, there are so many precautionary measures that you have to take. Anyway, we went to the hospital that night. And May 5th, went to the hospital. By the entrance, there's security guard there, there's hand sanitizer. You have to make sure you wear that mask. They won't let you in without that mask.
They screen you with all the questions.
Oh,
it was crazy.
Have you been with anyone that has the coronavirus?
Yeah.
You know, where you've been in the last couple of weeks and all those stuff. They really screen you.
Yeah.
You know. The place was so empty, it's like scary there, man. Yeah.
And they even asked if I needed him to come in. They saw us with all our bags.
Yeah.
They saw I was in pain and they were like, are you sure that you need your partner to go with you? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I can't go through with this by myself.
Exactly. And
I couldn't believe they asked. I understand completely, but not for labor and delivery. That's not okay.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we went inside and with our bags and everything, went upstairs to the 4th floor. You know, we go to the information desk and I give them our L card. They screen us there again. They would ask us where we have an appointment with the DS because the OB would have called and make preparation for us to come through. So yeah, they sent us to the baby unit. I think I'm not sure if it's a baby unit or
triage.
Okay, that unit. So we went inside and they put her on the bed.
They attach those stress bands.
They string her up, man. They
take his heartbeat and to monitor if I'm having contractions. And at this point, I was so scared just because it was so quick. Everything went so fast, and So they also wanted to test for protein in my urine for preeclampsia because at the OB office I had a +2. But then when we got to the hospital, I did the urine test and it came back negative. So that was kind of odd. But then they checked my blood pressure 5-6 times and it was always either borderline or below. It was never high it was in the OB office. So I think we started to wonder if we were there for the right reason or not. But anyway, we let them do their test and we had to wait 4 hours before a doctor would come and see us. Like we were just being monitored, and you were getting antsy, and like they wouldn't let you leave the room.
Guys, this is like probably like 11 o'clock at night, almost 12.
And you have your mask on, and wearing a mask, like you start to sweat. It gets so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how all the workers are doing it right now, wearing the mask all day, but we had a feel of it, and it was tough, especially when you're experiencing, you know, anxiety and you're freaking out. But yeah, so the blood pressure tests were all okay. Urine was negative, and then he was fine. Like his heartbeat was great, and I wasn't having any contractions at that point. So the on-call doctor comes in, and she wanted to check to see if I was dilated, and I was like, okay. So we check, and no, my cervix was completely shut. There was no dilation at all. It was closed. So she proceeded to test my reflexes, which apparently is another sign if you're going into labor that I never would have thought about.
Guys, this is really funny. After they did all their checks and stuff, they checked her blood pressure. Her blood pressure was so normal and thing, but she wasn't having any contractions. So I don't know what this reflex thing is, but this doctor took her leg in her arm like this and knocked her in the knee cuff, and her foot would like flex like this. Yeah.
And then she did my arm with my elbow, and then she's like, "Are you normally a jumpy person?" And I was like, I don't know, like I don't test my reflexes, but I'm nervous and I'm scared, so maybe I'm a little bit like tense, or like, I don't know, my nerves are kind of off the charts. So she proceeds to call my OB, and I can hear her through the door, and she's telling him, you know, all my results came back negative, my cervix is closed, but my reflexes are a little bit jumpy. So this work gets interesting. She advised that we start to like induce. And I look at him and we're like, okay, like sure, we didn't know, we didn't really educate ourselves on reflexes. Like if my blood pressure had been high or my urine had protein, I would have been like pro-induce, like let's go. But we were hesitant, but then we agreed to it, and they put like this little tablet down there. It's called Cervidil. Which basically just goes inside to the cervix and releases hormones to try and get your cervix to dilate. And they admitted me. We had to wait like another 2 hours before our room was even available for us. So at this point it's almost like 12 or 1 o'clock. And so we get to our room, and it's beautiful. Like private rooms at Humber, absolutely gorgeous. No issues about like the conditions to stay there. Like it was beautiful, but the hallways like were empty because nobody was allowed to leave their room. All you see was nurses walking up and down the halls. You still have to wear your mask everywhere. But we get to the room, we get settled, we unpack, like we think, you know, this is it, we're gonna get comfy. So we do. And the night starts to go on. So this guy passes out on the couch, and I'm in the bed just, you know, laying there waiting for something to happen, right? Not knowing anything. I'm on my phone looking up side effects of this stuff, but then at 3 o'clock in the morning, I start to feel like severe cramping, and my lower back starts to ache, and pressure down there begins, and it kept me awake. So it really started to work. Whatever that stuff does, it was doing. So I thought for sure, like, okay, this is it. You know, things are happening everywhere. It was very bad pain, like in the stomach area, but I think the lower back pain really added to it because I couldn't really get up or lay down. I always had to keep repositioning myself. But to use the washroom, like, it was so painful. He would keep asking me like if I'm okay because it was just so much pain, and it felt like there was a 100-pound brick just inside me waiting to come out. But yeah, so it was a long night. And they give the Cervidil 12 hours to work, so we had it put in the night before. So they were like, okay, you're gonna come back in 12 hours and then we're gonna check your cervix again. So I was like, okay, great. So we went through the 12 hours. It was brutal. They didn't offer me any pain medication, like, and because I didn't educate myself on the Cervidil, I didn't really know what my options were, and the nurses weren't that great, but that's okay. We got through it. We, you know, just kind of spent the day in the room, pacing, walking, like watching TV.
You guys just picture this. Being locked into a room, one single room, not able to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know, from that night and right throughout that day.
But not even that, like the food options.
Yeah.
So the food court was closed. You could only get Tim Hortons or pizza, right? So this guy was eating Tim Hortons, and like I felt so bad because he had no food options. But then our two good friends, Patrina and Damien, thank you. You guys brought us. He got some real Jamaican food and lots of snacks and fruits and juice.
It actually saved my life.
Yeah, so visitors are able to drop off food to the front entrance, and then they actually have like a runner hired that will run it up to the room. So that was kind of cool, which did end up saving us because hospital food was a no-no. That was just not good food. There was no seasoning to it. But yeah, so we're day 2 in the hospital. We're waiting for that 12-hour mark to come around, and then it does. So they take us back down to triage, and you know, we're thinking, okay, like something must have happened down there because the pain I went through that day was just incredible. Like it was really bad. Go back down to triage, and it was like 7:30 at night, and she checks my cervix, and we're so excited. We're like, okay. And it was 1 centimeter.
I was like, this is it. 1 centimeter.
Yeah.
You need 9 centimeter or 10
centimeters.
It's 1 centimeter after one night.
Yeah, and she said my cervix was long. Apparently it's supposed to be short, but it was long and 1. So I was like, I look at him and I was exhausted, and I was like, you know what, like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So at this point, we did have a different on-call doctor that was there. So she, you know, talks to us about the next type of induction we can do, and I just look at him, I'm like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted.
You're using a balloon.
Yeah, she was like, you have a few options. You can insert a gel, there's a gel tab that they can put in down there. And I was like, but we just did something in there, and this is what happened.
And there's a balloon that you have to insert for 8 hours, up to 8 hours.
6 or 8 hours, yeah.
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be like another day.
But I've heard from a lot of friends and family that the balloon is probably the best induction option. So I think going forward, after doing my research on induction, like that would probably be the go-to. But if you don't do well with pain or backaches, like Cervidil, try and stay away from it and ask them to do the balloon. Just because I've heard so many good things about it, or better things I should say than what I went through. But after being induced for, you know, almost 14 hours and realizing my body's just saying no, like it's not ready at this point, we took a moment to talk about it, and we decided that we were gonna ask them if I could go home.
Well, not only that, there was a good Samaritan there, this Chinese nurse. She was like, let me tell you, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Just leave your body. Let the body naturally do it.
Yeah.
I had made the same mistake before, and I end up had to do a C-section. Don't do it.
Yeah. So that was actually like, that was probably inspiring. But I reviewed the result. We checked my blood pressure again, my urine again. Like they wanted to check everything again, and check my reflexes again, and it was fine. So at this point, all my test results came back like decent, and he was very healthy, content, and happy in there. So I said, is it possible that maybe that on-call nurse or doctor made a mistake by inducing me too early, or made a bad call, or something? Like something just didn't add up to me. And I decided to listen to my body, and because I wasn't dilating, I wasn't gonna go through another 12 hours of trying to induce when there's no real harm to him or me. So we asked the doctor, and she said, well, I can't really pin you to the bed, but all your results are okay, and if you go home, just, you know, monitor for high blood pressure, like if you start seeing the stars or headaches or your vision blurry and stuff. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So we agreed that I would go back in 3 days for a follow-up to check all the tests again, because my next OB appointment wasn't until a week after that. So yeah, we made the deal, and then we got back to our room, and our nurse was actually so happy that we chose to go home, because it wasn't happening, right? Anyway, on the Saturday I went back to the hospital, got all the tests done again, and everything's perfect. Okay, great, like let's keep going, right? I was 37 or going on 38 weeks. So I said to myself, I have 2 more weeks, let's just keep pushing through. So on the Tuesday comes around, I go back to my OB office, and guess what? My blood pressure was high again. So I don't know if it's his office or I don't know if it's me. Like maybe I was nervous because of what happened the last time, but it was high again. But he's like, we're gonna do a membrane sweep today, which is basically when they just go in and sweep inside of you to try and get the cervix softening, dilating. It's a natural way to induce labor. It's not very painful. It's just very uncomfortable because you do feel the pressure. But after that, I basically came home and was just experiencing cramping, more discharge, just a lot of stuff going on down there, and I could tell that what he did was actually working. Like hormones were being released and things were going on down there. But yeah, he just advised me to keep monitoring the blood pressure and we'll take it as far as we can, so that was great. Wednesday was fine, and then Thursday would be the 14th. I started having more cramps, a lot more of them. They feel like menstrual cramps, but then they kind of turn into more painful cramps where you actually have to sit, like breathe it out, and then it would stop, right? But then it started getting worse. And we ended up going grocery shopping Thursday at 6 o'clock for my grandma. I said, let's go.
So listen to this one coming up, yeah? So after we went grocery shopping,
I had to stop. Meanwhile, in the store, like 3 or 4 times just to breathe and stop, because when you're having these cramps, pre-labor contractions is what they call them. Like you can't walk, you can't breathe, you just have to stop and let it pass, right? So yeah, after we go grocery shopping.
So we came home, we unpacked and stuff. You know, I was just there relaxing now. I don't know, but after that first scam or that first scare, who's not gonna be like, yo, Rebecca, that contraction is nothing. You maybe just need to wait that.
He was telling me, "Are you sure they're contractions?" Like I was like, "Yeah."
Yo, I'm like, no, come on, Rebecca, man, you're just being a baby right now. It's not 40 or 39
doubting
weeks.
Me, and like I was tracking my contractions on my phone, and they were like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and I showed him, and he's like, "No, let's wait for them to get closer." I'm like, "Come on, something's not good."
Yeah, I know. I took it serious, and like we just jump in the car.
We took a shower. I took a shower.
Yeah. You know, so we get ready and we just head to the hospital and stuff. You know, they string her up again, put her on that, put all those.
Check all the levels and like everything was fine. But they were seeing on the stress test, like on the bands they put on your belly, that I was having contractions and they were real. So that was good. That was a relief. And we were waiting. So the nurse was like, "Okay, I'm going to check you down there." I'm like, "Okay, great." Like she seemed to know what she was doing. She texts me again, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're about 1 centimeter." I couldn't believe what she had said, but that's okay. I was having contractions. I knew my body was like doing something, so that's great. We waited a little bit, and then the on-call doctor that I had actually seen for my follow-up appointment on the Saturday comes in, so it was nice to see a familiar face. She's like, "Okay, I'm gonna check you, and then we'll decide what we're gonna do." I said, "But the nurse just said I'm 1 centimeter." She's like, No, I'll check you." I was like, "Okay, great." So she goes in, she checks me, and I was 3 centimeters.
So it's actually working.
So relieved. I was happy.
Then. And trust me, you have some really nice nurses and stuff, but you have some that not so sociable. But anyway, I really love a few of them that were actually there. So she were like 3 centimeters. I'm like, whoo,
they're like,
it's getting there.
"We're admitting you," and I was like, "Okay, great. Like this is it, Kumar. Like go get the bags. We're going, right?" So that's the attitude we had, and that's where this whole journey pretty much began. Stop it now. So we walk over to the labor and delivery room. Absolutely beautiful room. Couch for him, beautiful bed for me. Just a very comfortable, actually like really nice place. Loved it. It was so good.
It was very nice.
Got admitted, had a team of fantastic nurses, and I knew I was in good hands just because of how they were treating me, and I was in so much pain. I was not smiling. I was almost crying, but not there yet. But I couldn't catch my breath. Like, it was very intense. So the on-call doctor comes in and she's like, okay, you're still 3.5 centimeters, and we're gonna break your water now. And I was like, okay, like, great. So she explains to me what they're gonna do. So they basically go in, and they insert this little thing, and they pop your,
like a needle,
your fluid sac, whatever you want to call it, and you're just laying there, and all you feel is like a hot gush of water come out, but it's not painful at all. Probably the most subtle thing throughout this whole thing was breaking the water. It's I kind of wanted to experience breaking my own water at home, but I'm glad that we were there for that, so that was good. But as soon as she broke my water, it was like something got released in my body, and the contractions just got so bad. I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe. I was like calling for Kamar to come over and just hold my hand. He's like, what do you want me to do? I said, just tell me that I could do this. Like, it felt like there was something inside of me just literally tearing my insides apart, and it was something I've never experienced before. It's a pain that, you know, if you go through it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Guys, this delivery is really emotional, so just keep watching. Like, yeah, we're gonna get there. You're gonna really get a lot from this one, or be like a little bit emotional or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, so she started getting dilated more and more. You know,
they had to insert a catheter first. That is not cool. That's not comfortable at all. No, like, they tell you you can't feel it, but you can feel it. You know there's something in your pee hole down there just emptying, and he's like, is that where your pee's going? And I was like, yeah, into the bag, because I can't get up, right? I was in so much pain. Oh, but that is not cool.
Yeah, there was also a time where they couldn't find the baby heart by like testing her. Like, they had this thing that they put around her to test the baby heartbeat and stuff, but they couldn't figure out where the baby was like positioned in order to find the heartbeat.
Moving around,
they had to put this little thing up inside of her down there.
Yeah.
You know, down there, that little wire thingy. I'm like, what the heck? And then it would be attached to the baby head.
Clip, yeah.
You know?
And the clip would monitor his heartbeat. You really don't feel that at all, but I think mentally I knew it was in there, and it kind of made me uncomfortable, but for the most part, that was completely fine. I did what I had to do because I knew if they couldn't get his heartbeat, I would be very anxious and stressed. So I'm glad he had a very strong heartbeat with that, so that was great. So I think it's about 4 a.m. at this point, and they could hear me from the hallway. I was moaning, groaning. I just couldn't bear the contractions anymore. Oh, he's like, Dad, leave me alone. So the nurses call the on-call doctor back, and she's like, do you want an epidural? And I said, I need something. And she wasn't okay with giving me the morphine at this point because we didn't know how quickly I was going to go into labor. And they want you to be as, you know, like, aware of your surroundings as you can, as well as the baby, because anything you put in you know, affects him. So the doctor comes in to give me the epidural. I'm freaking out at this point because this is probably one of the scariest things to me, is not being able to feel your legs, and that whole thing just freaked me out.
Don't worry, she will explain more about that in a different video, like whether to take an epidural or don't take an epidural. She's gonna explain the entire process for the epidural in the next video. So keep watching, you know, and click the subscribe button and the bell, just in case whenever we upload a video, we'll see, or you know, okay? Yeah,
there's just so many things that they don't tell you about that epidural and how it actually feels, but I'll go into details later.
Right.
So he puts the epidural in, and he's like, okay, within like 10-20 minutes you'll be able to feel a little bit of relief. I was like, okay, great. So I bear it out. That 20 minutes goes by, 30 minutes goes by, the nurses come in, they test me with the ice. Can you feel this? Can you feel this? I'm like, yeah, I can feel it all. Like, can't you see I'm in so much pain? So then an hour goes by. It's 5 o'clock at this point, and they're like, do you want me to call the doctor back? I said, I need something. Like, this isn't working. I can feel everything. I start to get doubtful of, you know, everything of myself. Like, is this the only option that I have? So he comes back, and he was doubtful himself that it wasn't going to work. And I was like, well, why didn't you say anything? But he comes back, he gives me a second epidural. It took like half the amount of time, and I worked like instant, like within seconds. I was numb. He left. And yeah, then I was having a great time. This guy was still sleeping, but it just changed you. Like, you had a huge sense of relief. So they start injecting me with Pitocin. So Pitocin is an IV drop that actually increases your contractions so that you can start to dilate faster. So they started, the nurse checks me. I think I was like 5 centimeters. I was like, okay, great. We're on the right track. This is working. It was great. And then I want to say, like, we roll around to 10 a.m., 11 o'clock or so. My OB comes in. We check again. And I was 9 flipping centimeters. Like, the shock on my face, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you're gonna start pushing. And I was like,
I was happy.
Pushing? You said 4 o'clock. It's only 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So mentally, like, prepare yourselves for anything. But that Pitocin is great. You don't feel it. Like, with the epidural, get the Pitocin. Contractions will increase. You dilate fast. It's perfect. So yeah, we start to push. They tell you how to push. It's great. I'll go into more detail about that after. But yeah, we were pushing for a good, I would say, 3 hours, and I was starting to get exhausted and scared because his
like,
head.
Guys, let's get it out, get it out.
Yeah.
They send the baby out of me. It's not working. Cause it's not working.
We can laugh about it now, but at the time, oh my god, his head kept like a rocking boat, so it would come out of the cervix, go back in, come back out, go back in, right? And I was like, so what does this mean? What do I have to do? Like, I'm doing what you're telling me to do. I'm pushing how you want, but his head just can't fit through. So the OB comes back in, and apparently your OB doesn't come in until the head is crowned. I didn't know that. But he comes back in, and he could see, like, I'm getting stressed, I'm crying, I'm exhausted. He's starting to freak out. It's just, it was not fun. The pressure down there is a whole different world. And, like, I don't know, he brought out this table and I could see on Kamar's face.
Wait. Guys, I was there and this guy just come and he brought out this table and I'm like, what is that table? All covered up in tablecloth. So I'm like, what is that? I'm
knives,
like, oh my god.
scissors.
When I see knives, scissors and stuff, I'm like, oh my god, this is an operation now, this is a surgery now. You know, so I get panic. I'm so scared. I just run away to the
Yeah, when I saw his face, I was like, what is
I don't
going
want to see
on?
this. I don't want to see this because, guys, I don't like seeing blood. I don't like seeing cuts. I don't like seeing nothing like that. That's why I'm
It's
like,
the worst.
I hate hospital. So yeah,
No,
it's
you
the
did
worst.
great. He's like, we're gonna use the vacuum suction. I don't know what the legal term is for that or like the medical term, but I call it the vacuum suction. He puts it in, apparently like suctions to his head, and then he pulls as I push. We did that for about half an hour, and all of a sudden you feel droplets of what we thought was water, but after we looked, it was blood everywhere. Ceiling tiles, lights, pillows, his head, my head. The suction had released because he was pulling so hard, and I guess his head kept getting stuck. Don't even ask. But we try again. And I'm like, can't you just take him out? Like, let's go for a C-section. I'm tired. I'm done. This isn't working. He's like, no,
she actually went over this nice part of the video that I want to share with you guys, but I heard the story. Yeah, when they put that suction on the baby head and was pulling and pulling, Rebecca is like pushing and like screaming. This is Kamar. Oh my god.
Behind my head. So I couldn't even see him. I had nurses holding my legs. He wasn't even holding my head at this point.
I had to hold her head like this so she can put her chin to her chest like. So I have to hold her head, but my head is always like this all the time because I'm so scared and I'm getting all emotional and stuff because Rebecca crying and I can see the OB pulling and I'm like, oh my god, are they hurting Caleb down there and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But anyway, when that thing like came off Caleb's head, the suction, I don't know if it's accident or what, and I see everyone start panic. It's like I felt like water just pour all over me, and like when I look up, it's all when I look up, it's all bloods all over the place. I'm like, oh my god, they killed Caleb now. Guys, I was panicking.
Yeah, I was scared.
I was so scared, yeah.
But then we did it again for another half hour, and he came out. Like, he just came full on out. Full head of hair. 7 pounds, 1 ounce. He was such a good boy. They did have to cut down there, but they stitched it up very nice and we're healing great. But it was a wild journey, and I'll go into a lot more detail about the procedures and stuff in the next video, because I don't think everybody watching this one wants to hear all that.
Yeah, so you guys stay tuned, because this next video is gonna be
really
real interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and you're gonna learn a lot, because we gain a lot of knowledge from all from being there. You know, and yeah.
I hope this video helps all the people trying to have babies, wanting to have babies, but just everything we tell you is exactly what happened. If you have questions, comment below, but I'm all ears. If you want to know something, I will tell you what we went through.
Yeah, so guys, just comment, click like, subscribe, and
He's like, okay, Dad.
you know, this baby is getting hungry right now, so I gotta go. So,
See you later.
See you later. All right. I never meant to make you cry, but tonight I'm giving you your cereal. So